right, welcome into New Arenas, episode 3. I'm Vince Quinn with you, and joining me from the lovely Portugal, where apparently the sun never sets, Ryan McCumber. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, Vince. Yeah, 9:15 here, 9:15 p.m. So the sun doesn't go down until about 10. Long day here in the accelerator, day 2, actually. So day 1, we kicked off yesterday at the Hype Global Virtual Accelerator. 25 fantastic startups came into the program, into what we're calling boot camp. We kicked off with 3 fantastic partners yesterday. So Tony Miranda from the Toronto Blue Jays. Then we spent 1 hour with him, and then 1 hour with Christian Lau, the CTO of LAFC. And then we spent an hour with Daniel Brusowski, Director of Consumer Products and Tech at the Golden State Warriors. Multi-NBA champion Warriors, and you don't get any more tech than San Francisco or Silicon Valley. So he's seen everything. After those 3, that was day 1 yesterday. Today was day 2. We had 4 partners we heard from today. So we heard from, let's see, I got to remember all this. It's been a long day. We heard from the Belgian Federation. We heard from FIBA, which is the world governing body for basketball around the world. Then we heard from the Miami Dolphins, Kim Rometto. And from FIBA was Frank Lenders and Nicolas Cossar, 2 guys that run FIBA there. And then also the very first one, we heard from a soon-to-be English Premier League team, Leeds United. They just won, or about to win, or hopefully will win the championship. And then they also own 11 Sport and then an Acer Investment Group, which is a fund that invests in sports tech. So kind of those 4, the same guy owns all 3 entities. Excited for today. I think we have 3 great guests, actually 2 guests, but one of them is representing 2 of the startups. As you know, we heard from 3 great startups earlier this week. So today we're going to have Symon Perriman is representing FanWide, as well as a new product called Crowd Comply, which is an AI crowd compliance on where people are going. FanWide is a viewership product for virtual tailgating or virtual parties. They used to do bar parties, now that's all moved to virtual. And then we'll wrap up with Derrick Lance from a phenomenal product called SportsMe. I'm looking forward to having them both on the show today.
All right, so we're going to get to our interview with Symon in just a second, but I do have to remind everybody we are powered by Fist, and with that, let's get to our interview with Symon.
Today we have Symon Perriman, the CEO of FanWide. I've known Symon going back, I don't know, I guess it was at the FIST conference in Toronto, where I think we first
met. Maybe even before that, a Microsoft conference.
Actually, yes, the Microsoft event, I guess that was before FIST. We met at Microsoft, that's absolutely right, in Seattle. And then we were both at the Techstars Indy, where you got a lot of good work. So Symon, why don't you tell us about FanWide? What does FanWide do?
Great, thanks for the intro and thanks for having me on the show. So FanWide is based out of Seattle, founded in 2016, and our core business was running nationwide bar programs for the world's leading sports organizations. Kind of the way I started the business, I'm somebody that constantly travels, about 50% of my time on the road. I'm a passionate New York Giants fan, Duke basketball fan, and I always struggle to find a place to go watch my game. And so I realized all of the data about fan clubs and communities was fragmented, spread out across Facebook, Meetup, other social platforms. And so the first iteration of our business, we aggregated all of this data and we built and maintain the world's largest fan community database. So if you visit FanWide, we show you where to go to watch your favorite team. But what happened then was we realized that a lot of bars were now coming to us and saying, hey, we have other events, or we're looking for a fan community ourselves. Can you help drive traffic to our bar? And so that ultimately evolved to us building a software platform for sports bars, giving them a variety of tools to automate their marketing, promotion, social media, give them a loyalty program, and give them access to these exclusive events. So we really kind of built this network of about 800 independent sports bars who are actively engaged trying to host these events. We then work with several large sports organizations, such as La Liga, the Spanish Soccer League, International Rugby League, and we became their official bar partner. where they work with us to actually go set up their nationwide bar programs, engaging their fans, collecting data from those events. And we collected a lot of really interesting data over the 1.5 million events that we've promoted over the last couple of years at over 10,000 bars. But times have changed. Right now, our whole business of organizing large in-person events at restaurants based around live sports not been going so well. So we've had to kind of change and adjust with the whole craziness of coronavirus.
Okay, so Symon, one, thanks for hopping on the show. It's great to talk to you about this because for me, I know this is something, for example, I worked with an Eagles blog a couple of years ago, and that was one of the things that we wanted to do. We wanted to we wanted to figure out where the Eagles bars were, and we know with the Eagles, it's a huge fan base. There's people all across the country. People like to travel, to go to games, all that kind of stuff. So how could we find Eagles bars all across the country? Now, we weren't able to do that by any stretch of the imagination, and that's why we're sports guys and not business guys. But for you to come up with something like this and see what this is. So walk me through this from the fan standpoint then, because, all right, so I'm an Eagles fan. I'm looking to get involved in events, go to games, watch games at bars. Like, what does that look like for me?
Sure. So you visit fanwide.com, tell us your favorite team. We can determine your location, and then we direct you to the closest watch party, fan club, or meetup near you. When you get to the event, you can check in and get access to discounts, promotions, enter contests or raffles. And while we do all of that, we collect, valuable data, information about fan preferences and loyalties, which we then share back with our team partners, of course, in a fully private way.
Okay. And so how about this? Can you give me examples of different promotions or contests that might actually occur when I go to those kinds of events?
Sure. So one of our partners at the Black Hole, the fan club of the Oakland Raiders, those crazy, exciting, passionate fans that sit down in the end zone, should say the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, yeah.
And so we've done events with them where we'll do contests and raffles. We'll go to the kickoff parties and basically use it as a new way to engage the fans, get people connected. Because one of the strategies that a lot of sports organizations have is trying to engage their remote fans. Usually they do a good job with season ticket holders, right? People where they have regular access, people who come into the stadium. But other than just showing a game on TV, there's really been no way to kind of build that connection. And so over time, these fan clubs have organically sprung up in all different cities around the country. And sports teams have a love-hate relationship with them. Since most of them are unofficial, they enjoy the fact that they have these passionate fans, but sports organizations are also in the business of making money. And they usually don't generate much revenue from these groups. The money goes to the bar, goes to fan club organizers. And so we realized there was this whole market out there, all of these groups. And what we tried to do was build a technology platform that connected an individual fan with a local fan club. It gave each of these fan clubs tools to help do their own promotion, marketing, automate tracking attendance. Gave bars the tool, and we basically built this whole ecosystem around connecting these remote fans and giving them a game day experience like they hope to get in their home stadium, even if they're located across the country.
Okay, so let me follow up with the fan groups there then for a second, because for a lot of what I've seen locally, nationally, there's a lot of people that in the sports scene, if you're a fan of a team, it's almost a given that you either did a podcast at some point or a blog at some point, or you are on a fan group on Facebook or whatever it is. There's just so much of that out there. So for fan groups to be involved, is it like just Facebook groups? How do you get your fan group registered, and what kind of impact has that had?
Sure. So it's free for all of our fans, whether you're a fan club or fan group. Just contact us, join the website, and we'll go and list your event, help drive traffic there. What we also offer all the fan clubs as well is being able to use our platform. They can get a larger reach. They can keep track of attendance. People can automatically check in. They can run their own raffles and contests. And we also handle the mailing list for them. So one of the most annoying things, I'm one of the organizers for the local Duke fan club. And I was really frustrated trying to find new bars, trying to find new locations. I had a day job. I didn't like calling up bars, trying to organize these large events. And then when people showed up, we'd have to have people sign up on paper. We would do raffles with tickets where you spend 20 minutes reading out numbers. And we said, let's just digitalize this whole experience for everyone. You can check in, that automatically enters you to the raffle. We got your attendance information. We can generate reports for the local fan clubs at the end. So it was really just about, trying to solve these problems with tech. And what we realized we did at the end of this is we got this tech in hundreds of bars around the country. We were generating interesting data about consumer preferences. We were measuring out-of-home viewership at thousands of bars, trying to understand what people were watching on TV. we were actively doing trials with some of the largest sports organizations in the world who are interested in getting that consumer data, because we were measuring millions of people at bars watching games that previously were unaccounted for. And so this whole ecosystem, as we learned from the customers, we built it up. We ended up doing some pretty big things with some of the world's largest sports leagues.
Wow. And so what's the depth of this then for FanWide? I mean, what leagues are you connected to, and how many teams?
So we've met with, have proposals out with, being discussed in about 125 teams. Half the NFL, half the NBA, et cetera, et cetera. Our biggest official partnership would be with
colleges, right?
And colleges, working with Duke Alumni Association. We've done events with the University of South Carolina. So Big Three Basketball League. And so we've kind of almost had three almost customer segments, really four. We've worked with colleges. We work with what we call emerging leagues, some of the newer ones which are growing, still trying to build up their fan base. Work with the established pro ones here in the US, and then with a lot of international teams as well. So we are, we haven't announced it yet, but we are actually going to be doing some virtual events, virtual watch parties with several of the largest European soccer clubs as well in June.
All right. Now, be honest with me. As a Duke guy, did you try to exclude the UNC groups, or did you let them join too?
Love-hate relationship. I will say, our company logo is dark blue for a reason.
That's great. Now, I was checking out the website a little bit, Symon, and I noticed that there was a tab on there that was talking about athletes and influencers. So what was that exactly?
Sure. So we work with different athletes and influencers who are still trying to connect with their fans. One of our brand ambassadors, Cliff Averill, former NFL Pro Bowler with the Seattle Seahawks. We also have another Pro Bowler on our advisory board, Ryan McNeil. And basically what we found is a lot of athletes are still looking to stay connected with their fans. A lot of athletes are trying to show success off the field. When they retire, stay engaged. And we have this network of fans, not just in the local city, but all around the country. And so it provides opportunities for former athletes who are still looking to connect with a fan base to have an opportunity to go to events, sign autographs, merchandise, and connect with their fan communities wherever they live. We are also working, we've recently launched part of our virtual platform also allows athletes to come in and interact with fans. So continuing to look at different ways where, we can help keep the athletes connected. And in many cases, they're still, looking for new revenue sources. And so we can host these different types of events, keep them connected with their fans, help them generate revenue for themselves or to donate to charity.
Okay, so just to kind of get a full picture here then, so if I'm a fan and I'm a part of a fan group, then I can I can organize an event at a bar that, say, wants to run an Eagles event, and we could do that. And while we're there, there's a possibility that former Eagles players that want to be involved could be at the bar there as a part of the party.
Absolutely. We've done several celebrity events, and we are having active conversations with 3 different NFL alumni associations to try to see how we can scale up this program.
Wow, that's amazing. So, okay, I guess as far as it goes for me, I mean, I feel like I've got a pretty good idea of this. So I guess, Ryan, if you want to get into the program a little bit and how that's all going to translate.
So, Symon, given we've had a couple sessions, which ones, any feedback so far on some of the partners that we heard from, any specifically targets, any ones you think were, exceptionally well or just perfect for FanWide?
For sure. I think it was a great program in the fact that, we learned about each of the different teams, right? They came and said, here's the major challenges that we're out here to solve. And our traditional business is these in-person events, which we've had to move on from, at least temporarily. And so what our focus and why we're at this event is we're actually pitching 2 new technologies. One of them are virtual watch parties. I kind of alluded to that earlier, but basically think of it like Zoom that's fully customized for fan communities. Branded, the same logos, we run programs, we run events. And so basically we use our experience of running 1.5 million events, our program, and do this in a virtual world. So each local community gets their own Zoom meeting room. So our Real Madrid fans of LA, they have their own room. So do the Real Madrid fans of San Diego. And so we're trying to recreate as best we can that local bar environment and atmosphere. And from some of the teams we've met with, that is interesting. A lot of these organizations are saying, we can't engage our fans in the stadium. all of our fans are now remote. Okay, remote fan engagement is going to really be a priority for us. So it's been interesting hearing some of the takes from that. Miami Dolphins, for example, they've done virtual draft parties. We've actually done the same thing as well. So it's kind of interesting seeing that, our own strategists have been aligning there as well. And, hopefully we can work with some of these teams and, be able to leverage that technology and help them build these localized communities.
Okay.
Wow.
As far as 2 or 3 ideal targets, I know you said 1 or 2 there, but any others that you're looking?
Yeah. So that was really on the virtual. That's really on the virtual watch party. The other one that we're really trying to target, I'd probably say the Islanders, the Blue Jays, and Golden State Warriors, in addition to the Dolphins, are pretty interesting for the other tech, which is an artificial AI technology. So basically the problem that we're trying to solve is the reopening problem. Now, to give you a little bit of context, our customer base is thousands of sports bars and hundreds of sports teams. And a lot of them have this consistent problem, right? Coronavirus has hit. We need to open. We're going to be at reduced capacity. There's going to be probably face mask compliance rules. We need to prove that this compliance is actually happening. And so there's a lot of similarities in what restaurants have to do to reopen, as well as sports teams. And so what we took, we said, well, the only problem that we can do to solve this and at scale is probably using artificial intelligence. So what we've done is we're working with a AI company. We have exclusive rights to work with them in the US. I'm actually an advisor to the company. And basically we are taking their AI technology and turning it into a product that meets the US standards of privacy, security, compliance, and then selling that combined product to these organizations.
Simon,
and what that basically does.
Simon,
Sorry, Ryan.
This is just to clarify for the audience out there. What's the name of this product? And I want to clarify, everyone, this is separate from FanWide. So you're kind of unique.
So this.
You have kind of two horses in this race.
2 horses in the race. This is FanWide Crowd Comply.
Get that pilot. What's the name of this one called? It's called.
This is FanWide Crowd Comply. So a crowd compliance solution.
Yeah.
And so the way it works is we plug into existing security cameras at a bar or stadium. We take that video feed and we do additional processing on it. And so we do what's called computer vision, which is an artificial technology that basically looks for patterns. Is somebody wearing a face mask or not? Based on that, it goes and creates alerts, it inventories that, and we can do real-time information to our partners. So if there's anyone without a face mask, you can send an alert. We measure capacity in a specific space, such as a gift shop. And we actually have public displays where we can say, max capacity is 25, current capacity is 22, 3 people may enter, 3 people may wait. So we're trying to eliminate this door problem of having somebody sit there with a clicker, which is going to be extremely expensive on restaurants too. I'm sorry, Ryan?
Can you tell if the Eagles fan's too drunk?
You can. So while we're going out the gate with is face mask compliance, counting and overcrowding. So if there's anybody at a bar, if there's people in certain restricted areas, too many people per square meter, we can detect that. And this tech was actually used at the world's largest festival in 2019, a big festival in India that had over 100 million people. So this is real tech used at massive scale.
That number for
100 million people attended this festival, the largest festival in the world. And this tech was used at over 1,000 security cameras doing crowd compliance at.
So you're saying,
oh my God.
So you're saying it can scale.
So then we could scale it down now. Yeah. I don't think we need to scale it up.
Yeah. Wow.
And, we really think that this is just the beginning for a lot of what companies are going to have to do with compliance, because it's not just, proven in real time, hey, don't come in. A lot of these regulated industries, the sports organizations, the restaurants, because they have, health and food issues, they need to prove compliance. And what that means is at the end of each week, at the end of each month, they have to generate reports that they give to their governing body to say, here's how many violations we've had. Here's our evidence that we are enforcing best practices so that we can go from 25% capacity to 50% to 75% and gradually reopen. So we're trying to automate all of that process for them as well.
Okay. Simon, I know you're going to have to go. We have to go as well. So on behalf of FanWide and on behalf of FanWide
Crowd can fly.
There we
comply.
go.
FanWide crowd comply. I'll get it right on Thursday. Best of luck to you. Thanks for coming today, and I'll see you in the sessions tomorrow. So
Sounds great. Thanks so much for having me. The program's been awesome so far. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right.
Excellent.
Thanks, Symon.
All right. The next guest, we have Derrick Lance from SportsMe. Super excited about this product. I think it's going to change the way fan experience just happens in detail. And this is just banter, something that I love. And I'll let Derrick kind of explain it. But I've known Derrick. We've talked on the phone for about 6 months or so, finally met in person at the Super Bowl down in Miami. And welcome on the show and welcome on board. So tell us, what is SportsMe and how's it going to change the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I missed those days of the Super Bowl when you could actually meet up with someone in person and be at a real event. So hopefully we get back to that soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for the intro. And yeah, SportsMe is a new social app and publishing platform. And our mission is to connect people through real conversations. And we're starting in sports. And what that looks like is, if anybody's familiar with ESPN's Around the Horn, you can jump in just like that, except for the fan can actually participate. You're not, professional sports writers on a produced ESPN TV show. You, the fan, can jump into a conversation, talk about your favorite teams and players with other fans, and other people can jump in, watch the back and forth, and vote on who they think is winning. And you can comment on it, and it's a way to really dial up the engagement around your fandom.
Okay, so Derrick, thanks for hopping on the show. Appreciate talking to you about this, and especially for me as a sports talk radio guy. The fun thing is, I get a lot of people who are people that call into my show, and they've got podcasts, and they're just ready to go to war with me on whatever my take is. So I've seen that, and I've felt it, and I know the interest is out there for a lot of people, and I guess understanding for those people who want to get on SportsMe and get in the battles like this, I'm just trying to really understand here. So is it like I have an opinion on something and I get in there and I say, okay, well, Carson Wentz is this and that, and he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And then if somebody just wants to come in and debate me, they just hop in and debate me? It's like an open room, if you will? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. It can play out that way. But it's really not necessarily about purely debating people. It's more about connecting people. And the debate is just something that naturally happens because people have different takes on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What we're really looking to capture is, and I'll go a little meta on you for a minute here,
Okay.
If you look at the world of social, there's a lot of words flying around, but there's not a lot of actual communication. And a lot of it is due to the tools. You have fake news and Russian bots running around, and you got faceless people on Twitter, giving opinions and flaming people. And what we're trying to bring back is, actually capturing the most natural and core of human interactions, which is talking face to face with a friend about something you care about. And people care a lot about sports, and it's cliche, but it's absolutely true, right? There are fathers and sons who bond over sports, and that's like the thing that links them together. Groups of college friends are tied together through fantasy sports. Sports is such a great connector that while, yes, we do allow you to debate on the platform, a lot of the discussion we see is people jumping in and just talking about the ways that sports affect them. So recently, for example, someone jumped in and was talking about the passing of Ed Sutton at Oklahoma. And other fans jumped in like, yeah, he was a great man, great coach, did so much for the state, for the program. And people got to go on there and share memories with each other. And it was the ability to, especially now during the pandemic where we can't get out and talk to each other, connect with someone else around something they care about. You don't have to be arguing, although that does happen sometimes.
Okay, so then, because I'm really trying to visualize this here, would it be like multiple people can be on video? Because, for example, it's the three of us in a video feed right now. Yep. Would it be other people jump in on the video, or is it just text replies to that video? How does that look?
Exactly. It's all of them. So I'll give you a great example of what it can look like. So let's say, for example, trying to think of something that's topical, the new NBA playoff format. We've had people arguing over that. So someone gets on the platform, they pick up their phone, hit record themselves saying, I think this new platform, this new, playoff format is terrible. Like, why would you give some team that didn't play well enough a chance to get in the playoffs? Like, that's dumb. And then they post it. And that ends up being a topic on there. And when you log on as another user, you're browsing through those topics, you'll see that topic. And if you want to weigh in there, you can jump in with your video, record it, and say, hey, no, like, that's ridiculous. It's entertainment. I want to see Zion play. If you're a freaking 8 seed, don't complain to me that you deserve that 8th spot that you won. You're not going to compete anyway because a real team's just going to beat you, right?
Yeah.
And so it's asynchronous video, which allows you to pop in and out of it like you would like a WhatsApp or like a group me message with your friends. And you can go in, go out, comment, vote, and really follow that initial core set of people in the video who are going back and forth. So there's an actual clear, like, you know, we put up winner of the conversation, who gets the most votes. Although sometimes, again, it's not about winning if you're sharing memories of a coach or player that you like or something of that nature.
Oh, well, no, you got to win all the time, man. It's always about winning, Derrick. Come on, it's sports conversation. No, but looking at
couched in competition, there's always the implication there, and maybe not making the best points. Maybe you're the funniest. Maybe you're the meme master, and there's other ways to gain credit on that too and win, not just by making the best points.
Yeah. Okay. So just conceptualizing, it's kind of like it almost might be like a Twitter thread where somebody posts a tweet and then somebody has a response, but it's video, and people just kind of can reply back and forth and have the conversations through video. That's what it seems like to me, at least. Yeah.
Exactly. And you could even use it, you know, alongside of, if you're you, right, Vince, and you're doing a podcast, and you could have a section you do every week where it's you actually going back and forth face to face with your fans around the topic you posted, and you can directly connect, go in and out with them. Or you could even take a clip from an existing podcast, video or audio, put it up there and say, who disagrees with me? What do you guys think about this? And then you can go back and forth. So it's a way to really dial up engagement.
Okay. And how about this then? So one of the things that you mentioned earlier was the idea that there's sort of like a voting and winners and all of that. So how involved is that process exactly?
Yep, absolutely. So as you see everything play out live, it really feels like Around the Horn, and that's what we were trying to capture. And if you remember Around the Horn, right, you have the sports writers debating each other, and then you have the moderator, I believe his name is Tony, and as people say things he likes and dislikes, he's adding points to them, you know, diddly, 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 or taking it away, right? It feels like that. And so you jump on, and if someone's, you know, speaking your truth, you're mashing your points button and being like, boom, points, points, points. Right now, we're leaving it only to positive interactions, but in the future, you'll be able to actually spend some in-app points that you've accrued to do stuff like buy a boo and then like boo someone, right? And so if you're a Philly fan and some Cowboys are running their mouth and you want to spend some of your hard-earned points to boo them and take away their points, you can go do that.
Wow.
Is there a limitation to how many people at one point on the platform?
Yeah.
For one topic, is it cut off at 5 people and you get to vote between the 5, or is it unlimited?
Yeah, so we have 2 modes. One is sort of the default quick take mode, where you jump on, post something, and everybody's kind of in the same world. And the takes are limited to 45 seconds. We only allow 5 people in a given topic, and each person's allowed to go back and forth a set number of times, because that keeps the conversation contained. If you let everybody just layer onto it forever, all of a sudden you can't get back to someone who talked to you, and it's hard to track. But we don't want anybody to ever feel left out, which is part of why we made the app, right? You're watching Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman yell at each other. You're like, Steve, you're crazy, like, but you can't weigh in, right? And you're sitting there frustrated, like, I have something to say. And we don't want to ever exclude anybody. So even if it's full, what you can do is you can then mirror that conversation and create another topic that talks about the same thing. Or you can send a direct message to someone in the video who said something you want to pile onto. And then he can pick that back up, and it starts a new thread that's linked back to the original one.
Wow. So, okay. And so just to be clear, because you said it's 45 seconds, just regardless, if you're going to post, that's as far as it goes. Yeah.
And that's sort of, again, the quick take mode. So if you want to jump in, get out, but we also have creator tools that allow you to set up what your room in essence is going to be. And you can restrict it to only inviting certain people. So if you're a sports content creator and you actually want to run a show on the platform, you could do a weekly show you and your 3 friends who played college basketball together, or you and your 4 friends who, were in a program together in undergrad, and love talking sports, and you can limit it to those people, yet still have people able to jump into your content and join in a permissioned fashion. So it's safe, and you're not going to get randomly trolled by some guy on Twitter who tells you suck. You can actually, just like you do on the radio, right? Screen the caller first, make sure they have something interesting to say, and you can kind of cut them off if they're going to do anything inappropriate.
Okay, so I really dig the format. Now, I guess the question is, how long have you guys been running this for, and how many people are on the platform?
Yep. So we ran an initial test about a year ago, and that was around just the core concept of piling on, with videos and running free. And that was actually formatted more of a topic gets put up and infinite people can just stack videos on it, because we wanted to test the idea and see if people would engage. And so we actually got a ton of engagement. And the coolest thing that came from it was people were spending 20 minutes a day on the app talking with each other about sports. Actually, I take that back. That's the second coolest thing that came from it. The first coolest thing that came from it is we had people make real life friendships on our platform. Wow. And you don't see that in most social media these days, because it's very polarized, it's text only. So much context is lost without the video and being able to see something. But these people connected, got together, and some of them are even doing a sports podcast together right now with people they met on the platform. Wow. Which is really, really cool.
You're democratizing sports talk radio and putting a video behind it. Because Vince, when we call up this to WIP, we're basically debating and talking about something, but it's just a voice. So it's almost taking a sports talk radio, democratizing it, and gamifying it. Really.
Yep, absolutely. And what it allows you to do really is acknowledge and pay service to your fans, especially the good ones. Because if you have a frequent caller who's awesome, or someone who's creating content for you that's really compelling, you can kind of give back and say, hey, your face actually can be on here too. It's not just your voice. People can see you. You're like a real part of the content. And when you look at, I think, Vince, your Twitter comparison was actually, it was pretty spot on in terms of how this stuff can be used. Mm-hmm. Can't give away the names yet, unfortunately, but we're working with a major publisher right now that owns a bunch of newspapers and other stuff, and in the process of speccing out a pilot in a major market where a bunch of sports journalists are going to be using our platform to better engage with their fans around their articles and to talk sports with each other with a very local flavor. And that's really our goal, is we're trying to give everybody everywhere, this for content creation, but let you do that stuff at a local scale. So we want a content creator to be able to do an ESPN first take show and have it be high quality, and be able to do it around high school sports if they want to. Right now that doesn't exist. Yeah. And ESPN, although I love ESPN and a lot of stuff about what they've done, the world is moving towards more focused and niche content where we can do things that are authentic to ourselves. And ESPN, the monolithic national broadcaster, isn't authentic to like an individual person who lives in a certain place, watches certain teams, eats certain foods. They want to talk with other people who are like them and get their news and information from people who are like them and authentic to their market.
Yeah, so I can see how this is a really interesting thing. Again, the 45-second thing, for example, I think is great, because to limit that and also at the same time give it space, because 45 seconds, you could say a lot in that amount of time, but and for me, it's a lot of arguing on Twitter, right? I put a thought out on Twitter, people go, your idea sucks, and maybe they give you a sentence on it and that's about it. But in 45 seconds, the amount of things that you can really say in actual discussions you can have in a tight-knit way, I really dig the whole thing. I think it's a great idea, and I've been excited we could talk about this. Now, I guess, I feel like we covered a lot of ground on what it is. So, Ryan, if you want to get into how it's going to go with the accelerator here.
Derrick, I think I heard you say it, or somebody did maybe in Miami, it's TikTok meets around the horn. And TikTok is blowing up for music, and it's kind of TikTok meets around the horn, gives everyone a voice and gets everyone, throw in a sports talk radio side. There's those three things coming together. And you know how big TikTok is. And sports are just as big around the world. So Derrick, I mean, thanks. I know you're going to be in the program that we're going to be running. Any sort of target clients or anyone that you would say we really want to target this company, or we would love to be in Europe, in Australia, or whatever it may be? Some of the big players in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the two targets we have in terms of domestic sports, although we love all domestic sports, and as a domestic platform that's frankly democratizing things, we can work with anybody. It's just hashtags and content. Um, but the sports that we are really interested in coming up is NFL, obviously, because there's just so much passion around football, and every week those games are just so important that there's just a lot of energy around that stuff. NBA too, just because of how culturally relevant the NBA is in terms of style, fashion, all that sort of good stuff. And then in terms of other sports, the world's football is another one that we're looking at, especially European football, because we while we are a content agnostic platform that can suck in a whole bunch of stuff, it is easier for us to stay English speaking in the beginning. So when someone jumps on, they don't hear somebody yelling in German and like, well, where am I, right? So we want to we need to develop some capabilities around geofencing and some other stuff too, in line with maybe some of the foreign languages.
There's nothing holding back athletes from jumping on this, right? There's nothing.
No, not at all. In fact, we have athletes that jump on it right now just to speak their piece and connect with people. And a lot of it too is when you talk about serving the athlete, the existing social platforms like Instagram, and it sounds weird, but a lot of these guys don't have much of a voice. If you're the backup lineman on the Cleveland Browns, how big is your platform? Who's listening to you? And if you're on Twitter or Instagram, how are you going to spike through everything that Odell Beckham's doing on your team? Everything Donald Trump is tweeting about, everything that's going on with like the Oscars. I mean, you're just competing in such a noisy space that it's really hard. And if you're a fan, like you're on Instagram choosing like, hey, it's the exact same cost and just as easy for me to look up, LeBron James content as it is for me to look up my next door neighbor's kid who plays high school basketball's content, right? It's the same. And so all the eyeballs go towards the really high end content. So what we're doing is we're moving the sticks and we're saying, hey, we're giving you a platform where you can engage in a different way. It's not about who posts the coolest picture and flashes the biggest house and car. It's who's willing to actually engage with their fans. And so you can jump in, provide an experience. So we recently had someone on the platform talk to an MLB pitcher who was a journeyman pitcher that played for his favorite team. Huge experience for the person who gets to talk to that professional athlete. And it's much easier to talk to him than it is to talk to Mike Trout. And the fans' buffet of options do not include talking to that guy or Mike Trout, right? Mike Trout's kind of off of it. He's on his own world, right? And so we're giving both sides the ability to connect differently. And for the athletes, especially in the hat and helmet sports, they're putting their face out there, verifying themselves as an athlete, and actually authentically engaging with fans, and it gives them a chance to really build a brand.
Wow. Well, one last question. So you have a pretty phenomenal team. Tell us about your team, some of the advisors and investors, because there's some pretty heavy hitters that you're working with, and between partners and you guys you work with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, people at the end of the day are what make things happen. It's the most important thing you can do is put together a great team. And we've been very fortunate that as we've started to build the product, we've had a lot of people who love the mission, love our values, and want to jump on and help. So we have a range of supporters, including one of our investors is Jason Robbins, the CEO of DraftKings, who obviously has his finger on the pulse of sports and where it's going. So very privileged to have him involved. One of the best people and best executives you could ever meet. Our core team.
DraftKings party in Miami. If you remember, that's where we actually met.
Exactly. We met at his party in Miami. He was a very gracious host. Brought us in some entertainment there as well, and it gave us all the food we could eat. I mean, what more could you want out of somebody, right? Great experience, and they built a phenomenal product. DraftKings is amazing and killing it because he's a phenomenal leader. And on our core team, we've brought in executives from like C-suite executives from major television networks, guys who built and scaled billion-dollar tech companies, and people who've been on the founding teams of major sports and gaming entities, and have spent literally billions of dollars in building cool projects and acquiring users in sports and gaming. So very, very privileged to have and humbled to be working with the caliber of people we're working with.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Vince, one last question from you, or are we good?
No, I mean, honestly, I think the whole thing's fascinating, and glad we got a couple of minutes to talk about it, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from my side. I'm looking forward to your pitch on Thursday. Definitely looking forward to having you in the program if some of the partners select you. And my feelings on this. You're on to something huge, and we don't have to look far. Some other examples out there that are blowing up. So sports is going to project you the same way. So thanks, Derrick.
All right, so that's it for our guest interviews today. But Ryan, we got a fun little note for everybody, because it seems like everybody can be involved and watch the conference. So if you want to talk a little bit about what that's going to look like and how people can get involved.
Absolutely. So Thursday this week, 10 a.m. Eastern time, the pitches start. The pitches are going to roll live for roughly 4 hours, from 10 to 2. Again, the jury or the panel, it's the 12 partners in the program, and there's 25 pitches. So they're not pitching to just one partner, they're pitching to all of them. If you watched Shark Tank before, you would understand it. Basically, they pitch for 6 minutes, followed by 4 minutes of Q&A. Some of the partners will ask them some questions and grill them, and then take a 2-minute break, and we're going to roll the next one. So every 10 or 12 minutes, it's pitch, pitch, pitch. There'll be 5 other questions. The whole thing is going to be live. It'll be on LinkedIn Live, probably YouTube, a few other things. But 10 a.m., you can look down in the text here underneath this. We'll put the URL and we'll put some content there. Hashtag is Hype GVA for Global Virtual Accelerator 2020. So hashtag Hype GVA 2020.
All right. So, yeah, make sure you look out for that. Again, we'll have it in the description, whether you're listening as a podcast or watching here on YouTube. And I guess with that, we're going to call it a night. So for Ryan McCumber, I am Vince Quinn. You've been listening to New Arenas, powered by Fist, and we'll talk to you soon.